Fantasy Blueprint listeners? We're into what week is this, 12?
12.
12 weeks of the grind, baby. We're back to it this week. So we're watching the Thursday night game while we're recording this, and it kind of triggered this. I'm putting you on the spot here, but this is kind of how we're going to open it. Funnest game, weather conditions you ever played in. I'll start this because I've been thinking about this for a second. So when I was, this is dating me a little bit, but back when I was a freshman, I was playing City League soccer because they still had soccer in the City League for ninth graders. And it was opening day, so they didn't want to cancel it. And I kid you not, it had rained all night, and it was still raining the next day. The field was just a puddle. But it was the most fun. Everybody's slide tackling, you're sliding down the field. And I remember I was wide open for a deep kick. I was going to try to just launch it in. And I went to plant, and my left foot gave out, and I ended up flat on my back, dude. Soaking wet. My brand new white Nikes are just brown at this point. That was the most fun game I've ever played in my life because it was just an absolute mud puddle. But it was awesome. It's a memory I'll never forget. Y'all have a game like that at any point?
No, I hate weather. I hate cold weather. I hate rain. I hate it all. It's not fun. I hate it.
Man, there's something special about that game.
I just remember I played one game in like snow in high school in baseball, and we were all trying to like huddle around this heater in the dugout. This was in Auburn, Alabama. And my cousin Sam Fields like walked up to the heater and just stuck his butt in front of it and just sat in front of it for like the whole game. He never moved. It was awful.
That's that PO life.
Yeah, he did nothing that whole season. He was hogging all the heat.
Well, yeah. Hey, man, I do the same thing. I don't blame him. I don't blame him one bit. I mean, it's everybody for themselves out there, man.
No doubt. Cole, you got
no
one?
games. I mean, no games that are crazy weather conditions. I mean, I played in one game when I was growing up that was real cold. It was in Foley. We were still in City League at the time, so we always had a good football team, and we won the semifinals and the playoffs. And I'll never forget it was probably about 50 degrees. You know, kind of like how it was outside now, which is nothing compared to what's going on in the Thursday night game. But
yeah, no doubt.
We ended up beating Foley or whoever it was we played, and I'll never forget. My dad got in the center of the circle and started jumping up and down with our whole team chanting, "We're going to the ship. We're going." It was over and over, and it was awesome. So that's something I'll never forget. But I was fortunate to never play in a bad weather game.
Yeah, it's fun to think about like memories when you're little and like those games, the ones that stick out in your mind. It's fun to think about. So it's just a random question I had while we were watching this game because it's literally the field is wide at this point. So. But let's dive into week 12 because nobody cares about my old reliving the glory days. But all right, so recapping for week 11, studs and duds. We kind of had a mixed bag. We were all over the place. Cole, I have yours. Gabe, I have yours written down as well. Did you have any specific ones that you were pleased with and any that just absolutely shattered your heart?
Well, Keyshawn Boutte and Dawson Knox were the only two players that kind of produced close to their projections. Hopkins is just really letting me down. It's really been devastating.
That game he had earlier might have been a one-off. Because he hadn't really done anything since or before then. So he may be one of those where he kind of gets buried now as the maybe if I need somebody, but probably going to stay away.
I feel like towards the end of the season, if the divisional race heats up and they start having to throw the ball more, they just kind of been controlling games. But I thought the Bills game was going to be a big one for them.
Yeah.
Because it was going to be high scoring and they're going to need some production. Just didn't happen.
Yeah. Cole?
And then Stevenson, Ramondre Stevenson, he didn't play very well either.
Yeah. He didn't let you down like Hopkins did, but he didn't play great.
No,
Yeah, Hopkins was a big letdown, but I didn't play him in any of my lineups, thankfully. But
smart man.
Yeah, I had a couple duds for sure. Garrett Wilson. I don't know what's going on between the ears there and in New York with the Jets, but they completely fell off the face of the earth. And I mean, Aaron Rodgers had a decent game. He had 16 DraftKings points, but Garrett Wilson only ended up getting 5. So
Yeah.
he killed me. And then I picked Mark Andrews. He only scored me 4.2. The one time I don't mention Taysom Hill or pick Taysom Hill in a lineup, he decides he wants to drop 41 and have 188 total yards. So
Hurts.
it hurts bad. That's why I'm wearing the jersey tonight, to remind myself to stay grounded and stick with my picks.
I love
But
it.
I did have some studs. I had Puka Nakua, picked him. And I went out on a limb this week and picked Jerry Jeudy because I knew how bad the Saints secondary was, and I cashed with that one.
Yep.
And he had 29.2, so he floated a lot of people. He was only picked in 4.8% of lineups in my entry, so he was pretty solid. Pick.
Huge win there. I think the only ones for me, Brock Purdy hit his projection, and then Dawson Knox was close, and then my 2 running backs just crapped the bed. Kareem Hunt, 6 points, and then Audric Estime had 5.6. Don't know what I was doing with Audric Estime, but that's for another day. Let's move into week 12. Let's look at it a little bit. All right, so any major injury updates that we kind of need to hone in on and think about for a second here as we get ready to talk about values?
Yeah. The Raiders running back room is toe up from the flow up.
Yeah.
What's his name? Madison is hurt, and Zamir White's hurt. So right now it leaves a dude named like Colleen Luby or Lobby or something, a rookie, and then Amir Abdullah, the ageless wonder.
Yeah, he's been around a while.
Yeah. Injury wise is all I can think of right now. That's kind of clear that those guys probably aren't playing.
Yeah.
Well, injury update wise, Mike Evans is coming back off the IR this week.
I did see that.
Keep an eye on that. So that's just an update that, instead of him actually getting injured, he's getting healthy. So that's a positive.
That's a big positive for sure. Way to go glass half full there, Cole. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, and then Pacheco's coming back. Let's just fill this thing on the way up. Possibly coming back.
Yeah.
Rumor has it he's coming back, so we'll see. But let's just dive in value-wise here. Let's start with the quarterbacks. I know who Gabe's going to say right off the bat, so Gabe, I'll give you the floor. Give us your value for Week 12 quarterback-wise, or give us a couple values.
Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets, 4,000 salary.
Yeah.
If this injury news or starting news came out today, or maybe not today, but before the player salaries were introduced, he would not be 4,000.
Yeah,
he'd be at a minimum of 5,000. So you got to take the layups when you get them. Geno Smith 5,700 against the Cardinals. Like that game. I feel like with his weapons back, with DK Metcalf, just hoping for some high scoring game there. And then it's also in that game, Kyler Murray 6,200. He was having a really good season.
Yeah, he is.
I don't really understand the salary point there. Seattle's defense isn't amazing, so I like that.
Cole, what you got?
Well, I doubted this guy, and now I've came around. Bo Nix, 6,300 against Vegas. I've turned myself into a Bo Lever. I believe.
Oh, my gosh.
I believe in Bo Nix now. Very solid play. He's been great so far this year. Another guy I'm looking at is Baker Mayfield at 6,100. With the return of Mike Evans, those two guys have a great connection.
Yep.
And I'm expecting them to possibly pop off. My last guy, I'm sticking with my roots. I'm going back to the Geno Smith train at 5,700. Big divisional matchup against the Cardinals. Cardinals defense is very vulnerable. So I'm expecting good games from those three guys.
I like it. I'm going to echo two of y'all's. Tommy DeVito at 4,000. That's hard to when you get a starting quarterback at 4,000. You gotta take it when you can. My question though for you guys is, do you think that his leash will be short, or do you think that they're in full tank mode? They don't care, because that's my concern. Is you look at Drew Lock has been the number 2 quarterback all season long, and then for whatever reason he stays at number 2, does not get promoted to the starting job. So Do you think there's a short leash there, or do you think they're just like, screw it at this point, let's just tank?
It's a good question. It's kind of a hard. I just don't think they'll pull him if the game's competitive.
Yeah.
But
And if
maybe if they're getting blown out, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not competitive, it doesn't matter anyways because Tommy
Yeah.
DeVito sucks. So 4,000, you're taking a gamble anyways, I guess. So I guess in the end it doesn't matter. I was just curious though because I've made this mistake earlier in the season with Gardner Minshew at 4,500 early in the season, and they benched him after the first quarter, and they put in Desmond Ritter, who had been a new addition, and they were trying to see what they had, I guess. But just curious where y'all's thought was on the leash.
Yeah, the only thing I can think is that last year when they played him, he did okay. I think he won a few games. I don't necessarily see with the point of starting him just to pull him.
Yeah, that
I feel
makes
like
sense.
they'll let him finish it.
I like it.
I've made a similar mistake this past year. I started Spencer Rattler, and then he got pulled in the middle of the game for Jake Haener. So you'll make mistakes like that a lot. Now, I think that the New York Giants front office is basically saying, all right, you guys want to see Tommy DeVito instead of Daniel Jones because you think Daniel Jones is so bad? You're going to watch how bad Tommy DeVito is.
You'll find out.
Yeah, you're gonna f around and find out this week why we paid this guy $40 million or $40 million a year. Basically, is what they're telling the fans. I think.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And then my second quarterback, I had Bo Nix as well, Cole. Last time he played the Raiders, because now you're kind of getting into the season where you start to play the same opponent twice. He's played the Raiders early in the season, had 23.1 points in fantasy. So he cooked them the last time he played them. Hopefully it happens again at 6,300. I feel like that's a pretty good price for Bo Nix and the way he's been playing. And then the last one, I had a third just to kind of take a peek at, is Will Levis at 4,900. The last two games he's had is 19.1 fantasy points and 16.6. And he's going against the defense that's ranked 22nd in Houston to quarterbacks in fantasy. So at 4,900, that might be especially if the game gets out of hand, they got to pass, might be a good option at a relatively cheap price. So that's another one to kind of keep an eye out as you're making your lineups this week.
My last one, you got to take a look at Pat Mahomes at 6,800 against the Panthers. Like it's hard to keep not mentioning Patrick Mahomes in a matchup against the Panthers. He has a little bit of rushing ability to just scramble in from 2 or 3 yards out and then throw 3 touchdowns. When does he break through is what I'm trying to say. When is he going to have that game?
This is definitely going to be the one where if it's going to happen, this feels like this will be the weekend it happens. So 6,800, I don't think that's a bad gamble at all.
Yeah.
And then going back on the Giants stuff real quick, Flo. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, you're good.
Just a breaking. I wouldn't say it's a breaking story, but it's something that came out. Daniel Jones played safety today for the scout team at practice. That is a confirmed rumor. I'm not sure why, but they put him back there. So maybe he'll get some reps at safety this week, and if he does, let's pick whoever he's going against.
Oh, crap, dude. What are the Giants?
They're not playing him as safety, man. They just put him out there as a decoy.
Still the stupidest thing. Let's put the guy. They're probably trying to get him hurt so they don't have to pay him or something.
Maybe.
But also, just like circling back to quarterbacks here for a second, if you look at just the noon to afternoon slate, the matchups are incredible. Like you have Jaden Daniels against Dallas, 28th against quarterbacks. You have Patrick Mahomes. Gabe, you mentioned him at 6,800 against Carolina, 25th to quarterbacks. You have Jared Goff against Indianapolis, 24th to quarterbacks. And then you have Will Levis against Houston, 22nd against quarterbacks. So there is plenty of value at the quarterback position for this week. And I think you're going to kind of see that trend continue as you look at running backs and receivers and tight ends. But let's kind of jump into the running back.
I'm sorry, Brent. I got to cut you off again. The reason I'm so big on Tommy DeVito is because this is the best set of receiver weapons he's had, I guess, at the Giants in a while, with Neighbors, Robinson, and their tight end Theo Johnson, which I'll talk about later. And Tracy's kind of a pass catcher running back. So I find it hard not to go against the Tampa Bay defense, who's like last against the pass.
Yeah, they're terrible. They're terrible. Again, just talking about the rankings and the matchups. There's great matchups across the board for quarterbacks. Just it kind of depends on how you want to play it. So running back wise, Gabe, we'll start with you. Value for running back in week 12. What do you see out there?
So Amir Abdullah 4,300. If both those guys are ruled out for Vegas, got to take the chance on him. His pass catching ability. He's not a bruiser. He's a pass catcher, and that's volume.
Yep.
And then Kareem Hunt 5,700. I don't think if Pacheco plays, they're gonna hammer him against the Panthers. I just don't see what the point is, what the risk is there for putting him back in after a broken leg. And then also Ramondre Stevenson 5,900 against Miami.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of just the bell cow there. I don't see how he's at 5,900. His salary keeps dropping, but he scored some touchdowns.
Yeah, he actually.
Unless I'm missing something there.
I'm pulling up his. He's already played Miami once this year, and he had 19.2 points against Miami already this year.
Yeah, so. I'm not seeing what I'm missing at that there, but I like that. Then probably my favorite running back play, not value wise, but if I'm looking on the upper end, is Kenneth Walker, 6,900. I like that a lot.
Yeah, 25th. I have this written down 25th running back, so I like that play a lot for sure. Cole, what you got for us?
This week I've got a few guys picked out the running back position. James Conner's one of them. He's gonna come in and get a bunch of touches. He's coming off a bye week. He'll be fresh. And he's got a big game, big divisional matchup against the Seahawks. They're letting up 138 yards per game on the ground. So I'm expecting him to go heavy run with Kyler and James Conner and a lot of read options, things like that. And then my second guy is Brian Robinson Jr.
Yeah,
he's a bruiser running back going against Dallas's defense, and Dallas is weak in the middle.
Yep.
So
they're
I'm expecting
30th.
Yeah, I'm expecting those two guys. I mean, you can't even name a linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys right now. I don't think. I know I can't.
I can. Eric Kendricks, I think.
Is he playing?
I think so, but that's just on top of my head. But yeah, Dallas they're weak on the run, and I think Brian Robinson might finally be healthy.
Yeah,
and he's getting the load of touches too. You know, people think Austin Eckler, is coming in and vulturing, which he is some, but Brian Robinson is fully healthy again. He's gonna get the snap shares that
touchdowns.
Yeah. If they get close, they'll definitely use him to get in the end zone, I'm sure. So, what else you got for us?
Other than that, those are my two guys I'm going with this week. I would not touch Kareem Hunt just because Pacheco is such a toss-up. There's two approaches to this. You could keep him in and try and knock the rust off and get him ready for late in the season, or you could take him out and try and keep him healthy. And that's the question that you're taking a risk on, is what they're going to choose to do. So I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. So I'm no touching Kansas City running backs this week.
Yeah, you can see that.
So my running backs for this week, Brian Robinson was on my list at 5,600 against Dallas, who's allowing 28.2 fantasy points a game to running back. So that's a lot of points, boys. So Brian Robinson, I may go Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler against the Dallas defense, boys. 5,600 across the board. So, and then I like the Kenneth Walker play as well at 6,900 against Arizona. 25th to running backs, and they're allowing 25.5 fantasy points a game. So those are kind of my two guys I have circled. The one guy that I would not touch this week, Devon Achane. You're going to be playing in New England.
Really?
23 degrees. No touchy. Miami going to be off the board. So that was my only one. Probably not going to touch that one, but we'll talk about that in a later segment. But anyways, we'll move on to receivers here. Cole, you start us off receiver-wise. What do you have value-wise for this week?
All right. This week I'm going with Josh Downs, one of those guys I'm keeping an eye on, 6,200. Starting to feel like he's got a good connection with Anthony Richardson. He had one last year. And he's starting to piece it together, and they're definitely going to be passing a lot because they will be losing this weekend to the Detroit Lions. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. The Lions are freaking eater of worlds right now. They are going absolutely insane. So I'm expecting the Colts to get down. I'm expecting Josh Downs to get a lot of receptions to try and catch back up. Not putting any more faith in Michael Pittstank Jr. He's absolutely just messed my team up. But second, I'm going with Mike Evans at 7,000. Baker to Mike in the red zone is a classic. It's one of those what do you call it? Vintage connections. Depleted receiving core over there in Tampa. So that's who I'm going with there. And then Cortland Sutton's another guy at 5,800 that I'm going with. I'm a believer. Once again, Flo, I'm on the train with you. Bo Nix, top target. He's wide receiver 1. He's getting lots of looks. He's kind of piecing it together. He's been a star for, I wouldn't say a star, but kind of that above average player that is consistent. So he's a good play for a tweener receiver that you would need that's kind of in between salaries that you could have for like a flex play. That's the guys. Those are the 3 guys I'm looking at, and that's Cortland Sutton. That's who I'm going with this week at 5,800.
I like it. Gabe, what you got?
So I'm kind of going on a little pivot action. I've been saying we need to start Hopkins, but Worthy has been steadily dropping each week. And now he's down to 5,000, which is Hopkins, I think, is 5,400. Worthy's a big play threat down the field, has some of the worst sideline awareness I've ever seen with Dragon tapping his toes. But maybe if he just splits the seam, doesn't have to worry about tapping the toes. Maybe a long touchdown against the Panthers. I think the best corner for the Panthers, I think Jimmy Horn Jr. Is that his name, Cole, or what's his name?
No, Jimmy Horn Jr.
But I don't know what his first name is.
What's his name? Either way, regardless, it's Horn something.
J.C. Horn.
J.C. Horn, yeah.
That's what it is.
He'll probably be on Hopkins, I would imagine. They're going to move Worthy around. So I'm expecting a big play touchdown for Worthy this weekend.
I like it.
And all my Coke heads out there, Jalen Coker had 8 targets last week. Now they are going up against Kansas City's defense, 3,700. Risky play there, but if the Panthers get down big, garbage time is better than winning time sometimes.
True.
Kendrick Bourne, 3,600. He's been battling a knee injury for the Patriots, but he's back, and he had 18 points last week. Had a touchdown. He's kind of taken – so that's kind of why Boutte put on the back burner last week. Wasn't really tracking Bourne coming back and how they wanted to use him, so that's on me. Tyreek Hill, Ty Freak, I like to call him. 7,200. He's going to try out there and got to produce for his 8 kids this weekend, I think. He's just too cheap, dude. 7,200. You don't get that. You don't get Ty Freak at that.
23-degree weather.
He finally scored a touchdown. Yeah, those hammers going to be tight for those Patriot DBs.
It'll be tight for him, too.
That's gonna get. I was about
Get
to
used
say.
to that Miami Heat.
I will say, kids, they will make you play better. I mean, this is going to be a college example, but Jalen Milroe just found out he's about to have twins, and all of a sudden, this dude is a dang world beater and cannot be stopped. So that's going up there with the birthday theory that you play better on your birthday. Maybe you play better when you have 8 kids, 9 kids. I think it's 9 now, actually, to depend on.
Oh, really? Wow.
So.
All right, moving on to Tyreek Hill stuff.
I was about to say.
My last play is last play.
He's got more kids
Marvin Harris,
Phillip Rivers, or Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill. We only know about the 9 Tyreek.
It's true.
Yeah, really.
It's true.
Marvin Harrison Jr. is 6,100 against the Seahawks. I like that. I mean,
You like that?
number 1 receiver with Kyler Murray. I like that. That's the end of my value segment. You don't like it?
No, I'm kidding.
I don't like it, but
When salaries do this,
You buy
they're
them.
about to something's gonna push it back up. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. with his potential, his ceiling, his schedule's about to lighten up a lot too. I was looking at it for the season-long fantasy playoffs. I wish I had him, but I do have Kyler Murray, and some good matchups are coming down the line for Marvin Harrison Jr. So I imagine this is probably like bottomed out. If he has a good week this week with the matchups he has coming up, it's just going to keep going up. This might be your last time to get him at this price.
I like it. Fumble for the Browns. Steelers got it. So I'm going to enter this segment as asking a question rather than talking about a receiver that I find value. So the question that I have for you guys is, there's a lot of questionable quarterback play where receivers have good matchups. For example, Caleb Williams is playing Minnesota. Minnesota's the 31st ranked defense to receivers. Do you trust a Caleb Williams to get it to a DJ Moore or Keenan Allen? That's one example. Another one is Tommy DeVito versus Tampa Bay. He's got Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, Slayton, right? And then Tennessee versus Houston. They're the 25th ranked defense against receivers. You got Calvin Ridley, Westbrook, Tyler Boyd. Is there a way – I guess the question is, do you trust any of these quarterbacks to where you can find value in these receivers?
Yeah.
Paul, you got any thoughts there?
Yeah, matchups are definitely a huge thing. I think a huge matchup to look out for, it wouldn't just be the quarterback play. It would be the offensive line versus the defensive line, like Gabe was talking about with the pass rush type stuff.
Yeah.
Out of those three quarterbacks that you mentioned, I would probably take Will Levis with having the most upside and getting you the most points. He'd probably be the most reliable, I would say. But Caleb Williams does have that. He does have playmaking ability, and he can roll out, and he can buy himself time. It just depends on the pass rush. Tommy DeVito, he does have, like Gabe said, does have the running ability. He's got a superstar in the making with Malik Neighbors out there on the outside. So, I mean, you're taking a risk with those kind of guys and those low salary things. But it's really dependent on offensive line and defensive line and how much time those quarterbacks will have. I think that's going to be a huge factor for those three guys. So, just got to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, so I guess I'm staying away from all these guys because y'all are making me nervous. But I was just curious y'all's thoughts. Let's go tight ends here, though, as we kind of wrap up the value segment. Tight ends, week 12. I'll kind of start us, and then you follow, and then Cole behind. Travis Kelce, 5,800 against Carolina. Stack him with Patrick. Then maybe this is the game where Travis gets the end zone. Patrick Mahomes puts it together. I think at 5,800 with Travis Kelce's past, I think it allows you to reach a little bit for salary-wise there. He just hasn't had quite the production, but his targets have been there the last couple of weeks. He hadn't really got in the end zone a whole lot. But this could be the week against a crappy defense where Travis Kelce at 5,800, he stacked with Patrick Mahomes, get double the points here. Second one I had is Sam Laporta at 4,500. I'm taking any piece of the Detroit Lions offense I can get. I think at 4,500, that's value for him. He was a stud last year. He's had up and down season this year, but I like it a lot at 4,500 against Indianapolis, who's 27th to tight ends. And then I've talked about this guy a lot, but Zach Ertz under 4,000. I'm still a believer. The targets seem to be there. Jaden Daniels is still playing pretty good. So at 3,800 for Zach Ertz, coming off an 18.7 fantasy performance, he may not get in the end zone twice, but I do like Zach Ertz a lot. Actually, I think he only got in the end zone once last week, sorry. But I do like Zach Ertz a lot at 3,800, just with Jaden Daniels' ability. So that's kind of my three. And then you could throw Jonnu Smith in there because he's playing really well, and targets are trending in a positive direction there. But Gabe, you go ahead and hit your guys for us.
Yeah, I have Zach Ertz, 3,800. Also have Jonnu Smith, 4,100. Great game last week with 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards.
Yep.
They're playing New England, like you said. New England has one good corner in Christian Gonzalez. Don't know whether he'll be guarding Tyreek or Jalen Waddle. Probably won't be on an island with either of those guys. But I like Jonnu Smith there with a pass-heavy offense. But I think my favorite play will be Theo Johnson for the Giants, 2,900. 6 targets, and 4 targets. I'm throwing a dart at a touchdown against Tampa Bay.
Love it.
I'm gonna take that chance. I mean, with DeVito, maybe they get a little spark, but free up a lot of salary there. I'm just gonna take a chance on the touchdown.
Cool.
So you guys hit the nail on the head with my guys. I wrote down Jonnu Smith 4,100. I'm a big fan of tight ends that have that wide receiver build and have a little bit of wide receiver speed. I feel like there's more targets that come to those guys. I mean, he's consistently getting about 6 to 8 a game right now. So I'm assuming him to get the typical 7 to 10 points and just hoping that he'll get more than that. Didn't he have like 41, I think, this past weekend? Or how many did he get? 31? How many did he get this past weekend?
30. He got 30-something, 31.
Yeah. So that's not going to happen again, I don't think. But I'm expecting him to get maybe 12 to 13, hopefully. Also, like you were saying, it's going to be cold in New England. I have a feeling Jonnu Smith's going to be running a lot of check down routes. Tua's going to not want to get hit in that cold weather. So it's going to be getting the ball out quick and just avoiding getting hit. Second guy is Zach Ertz, 3,800, like y'all were saying. He's strung together a couple of good games. He's getting a lot
Did you
of
get
targets.
that?
My wife's sliding past me to go get him right now. Sorry about that, boys. Got
What
some
a
tears.
trooper.
Probably had a nightmare there, but
That's all
Poor
right.
Beck.
That's
Poor
all right.
buddy.
He probably
little
saw
man.
my lineup in his dreams and woke up.
dude, that's exactly what he's probably thinking. No, don't draft Audric Estime again.
But Zach Ertz, he's a dependable target for Jaden Daniels. And last week he got 2 back-to-back red zone looks, one on the late touchdown and then on the 2-point conversion where he had a nice toe tap. So I feel like he's going to continue to be a red zone target. I feel like they've gotten their connection a little better throughout the year too. So those are my 2 tight ends I'm going with.
Awesome. I got one more for you guys to look at. I had this penciled in because it's going to depend on injury. Jake Ferguson's dealing with concussion, didn't participate again. Luke Schoonmaker, I think that's how you say his name, 2,500.
Yeah.
Last week with Ferguson going out, he had 6 catches for 56 yards, but he had 10 targets. I think that's one to keep an eye on depending on if Ferguson doesn't play, because you got terrible quarterback play there right now that are dependent on their tight ends.
Whoa. Terrible QB play, buddy. Rushers threw for 300. All right.
He was terrible. They lost.
I think a good point you can make with Cooper Rush and that Shoon connection is both of those guys are backups. They probably throw to each other a lot in practice and stuff like that. So they probably have a good chemistry and a good connection already. So
Very good
they'll
point.
look out for that.
Yeah, that's 2,500. So if Ferguson doesn't play, that could be a core 4 for sure.
No, that's in there. That's in there for me if Ferguson doesn't play for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of core 4, let's move right into that. Cole, give us your core 4 for week 12.
My core 4 starts off at Geno Smith at QB, Brian Robinson at the running back position, Mike Evans, and then the shocker, Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Wow.
That's who I'm going with. That's who I've got a good feeling about. He's gotten several touchdowns the last few weeks. I don't know if y'all have kept up with that.
He has. Yep. You're right.
Yeah, he's getting looks, whether it's in the end zone or he just scored a 98-yard touchdown this past weekend. So let's see.
I thought we would.
Yeah.
He had
So
22.7 fantasy points last week against Minnesota.
So in the
I
last,
thought we'd hear the name Russell Westbrook before we heard Nick Westbrook.
Yeah. So from week 6 on to now, he's only missed out on a touchdown in one game, and that was in week 10 against the Chargers. So he's definitely getting looks in the red zone. He must be a really crisp route runner or something. So that's who I'm going with for my pick as one of Gabe's cheap picks. I'm gonna put a whole bunch of bricks underneath one stick right here. So let's see it.
I love it, baby. Gabe, what you got for us?
Well, I'm going to go Tommy DeVito, 4,000 in my core 4. Have to do it. that's not his price if the news is released a little bit earlier that he's starting before the salaries are made. So take that. I don't think the Raiders running backs are playing. Both not practiced the last 3 days. So I'm going Amir Abdullah, 4,300. And then I'm kind of debating between Jalen Coker and Kendrick Bourne at this point, 3,700 and 3,600. But I think I'm leaning more towards Kendrick Bourne with a better matchup against Miami, and I might stay away from Coker against Kansas City. But both of those guys have potential to score 10 plus, whether Kansas City starts blowing out the Panthers or Kendrick Bourne catches a touchdown and it's a high scoring game in Miami. I think they both have a good chance of producing. But I'll make a decision on that later on the TikTok channel. And then I'm going Kenneth Walker, 6,900. Low floor, pass catching ability, good matchup.
Yep, I love it. So for me this week, mine may change, but I've got Bo Nix right now at 6,300 against the Raiders. I've got Brian Robinson at 5,600. I think he's going to get the goal line carries. I really like that a lot. I've got Sam Laporta at 4,500 as my piece of the Detroit offense this week. Hopefully he's the one that gets in the end zone. I mean, they're scoring like crazy, so hopefully he'll find one. And then right now for me, I've got Luke Schoonmaker at 2,500. I'm going double tight ends right here in my core four to build around. I think one of the interesting things to look at, Gabe, Bo Nix is sitting at 6,300. If Ferguson is out at 2,500, I think you could go Tommy DeVito at 4,000. Schoonmaker is your starting tight end at 2,500, and you can get whatever you want for the rest of your lineup. So that's a scary thing to kind of look at. So depending on how that news breaks, I may shake up my core four, go DeVito and Schoonmaker, and then you could go Amon-Ra St. Brown at 8,300, which is a ton of money, but you can go get guys like that that are expensive because you're able to fill the holes. And you talk about that every single week, Gabe. Just find guys that you can piece together that are low enough salary where you can go get the big boys to ensure that you score the points that you need to
love getting the big boys to fill the holes, man. That's what we look forward here in the DraftKings.
I literally, when I said it and it came out of my mouth, I said, somebody's going to say something. Because there's always a tight end segment that happens to me. But
started at week one when you said I love to center myself around a good tight end.
Yep, I'm 0 for 2 lately here on tight ends, but pause. Moving on, we're gonna look at the AI lineups. We'll have those later out on the channel, the TikTok channel. So stay tuned to those. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Gabe, do you have that TikTok name, the at off the top of your head by chance?
TikTok is fantasy.blueprint. Pretty simple.
Fantasy.blueprint. Follow us, and we'll give you kind of the Gabe's models, and then kind of our optimal lineups, which we're going to talk about here for a little bit. And they may change as we move into Sunday. But, Gabe, give us your optimal lineup for Week 12.
Yep, TikTok channel where you get the most up-to-date information with our core four and injury updates and just some other plays that we think are great plays. And if you would have watched the video last week, you would have been in tune with the Anthony Richardson love. We were given some good Anthony Richardson information, and he ended up dropping a bomb on the they play the Jets defense at the 2 rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was Lamar Jackson last week, which means
he was
Deshaun Kaiser this week.
Deshaun Kaiser is better than Deshaun Watson. I'll say that.
Lately.
My starting lineup got Tommy DeVito, Ramondre Stevenson, Kenneth Walker, Marvin Harrison Jr., Tyreek Hill, Malik Neighbors, 7,400, Travis Kelce, 5,800, Amir Abdullah, 4,300, and I'm going to the Cowboys defense, 2,400. Yes, the Cowboys defense has been abysmal, but they got Micah Parsons back. Had some turnovers last week against they played last week. I can't remember. Houston. I think they forced like two picks, had some sacks. That's all I need at that salary point.
Yep. It's good. Cole, what you got for us?
So my lineup, I'm going with Geno Smith at the QB against Arizona. Going James Conner, Brian Robinson Jr., Mike Evans, DK Metcalf for the stack with Geno Smith, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Zach Ertz, and Nick Westbrook-Akine with the Titans defense against Houston. The Titans defense hasn't let me down yet this year. They've consistently got me about 4 points a game, and that's good enough for me. So,
Yep.
Sweet. Awesome. My lineup this week is Bo Nix at 6,300, Brian Robinson at 5,600, Joe Mixon at 8,000, Amon-Ra St. Brown at 8,300, Cortland Sutton at 5,800, Debo Samuel. This is the first time I've ever put Debo Samuel in a lineup, by the way. So,
well, get ready.
Probably go.
You're gonna be taking a nap at 1:15.
It could be a terrible curse for the Blueprint guys to pick Debo Samuel, but after Debo got Shoemaker if he plays at 2,500, and then Sean Laporta at 4,500, and then Patriots defense against Miami in 23-degree weather. So that's kind of where I'm leaning this week. We'll move on quickly though to no touchy. What do you have for this week for us, Cole? No touchy.
Never gonna fail. We'll stay in it forever. Debo Samuel Jr. is gonna stay in my no touch for the rest of my life. I don't understand the hype. I don't get it. This dude has not had a game that's like phenomenal to where everybody's picking him and for his salary price point. He needs to be where Cortland Sutton is.
Yeah.
Another guy that I would no touch, Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. Yeah. And then I'm not touching Tyrone Tracy Jr. I feel like the box is gonna get stacked for that game to force Tommy DeVito to throw, and they're gonna keep Tyrone Tracy in the box. So those are my guys for no touch.
So I'm not as much of a no touch on Debo. He had week 1 and 2, he had 18, 21. He got hurt. Then he's had a couple duds. Then he had 23. Then he's hurt again. 12, 12, and 6. He's not a nuke. He's not going to blow your lineup up unless he gets hurt, which is a possibility.
Which right now has been every other week.
If you're saying he's no touch because of the injuries, I understand.
He's no touch.
But when he plays, he produces.
Because of the past for me, he's no touchy. He's spurned me so many times where it's like, oh, Debo Samuel, he's a running back and a receiver and everything else. And then all of a sudden he'll come out there and he'll be sick and won't play.
You got to think about his price. No, I hate the 49ers. Trust me, I hate them. I hate their injury news. I hate everything about the 49ers. They annoy me, and get into that later. But at 6,500, Debo seems like his ceiling's pretty high there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cole, I'm not poo-pooing on your no touchy there because I hate the 49ers. And so I 100% see where you're coming from. But they're playing Green Bay. I don't know something about that game.
If you're Debo Samuel may move out of my lineup depending on the Brock Purdy news. I know he's questionable right now.
Yeah. For my no touchy, I'm going back to the well. I hate this guy. Sam Darnold, Minnesota playing against the Bears. I'm staying away from them against the Bears. It's in Chicago. and the Bears defense is good. And I'm just going to keep pooping on Sam Darnold because every time I poop on him, he plays well, and I don't trust him.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that for sure. What else you got?
So besides the Minnesota and Chicago, I'm kind of out on Vegas quarterbacks and receivers, but I'm definitely going to get Amir Abdullah and hope for some checkdowns for sure. I'll take that.
Yeah.
But Denver's defense is just too good to take that chance against Vegas.
My no-touchy list this week involves Miami receivers and Miami running backs in 23-degree weather. Just not.
Oh, yeah, I see. That's what you're saying, yeah.
Not confident.
Warm weather players, yeah.
Yeah, not confident in their – not saying that they won't. I'm going to stay away this week because I can see that going very poorly for them.
Uh-huh.
My second no-touchy for this week is – hold on just a second. Wow. My mind just went blank.
Uh-oh. I lost it.
Mine went blank. Oh, my second no-touchy was I'm kind of with you on that, Gabe. The Vegas receivers I'm out on, and then I'm scared to touch CD Lamb right now. I just don't know. It just seems too inconsistent on offense without Dak Prescott. So I'm gonna hold off on CD Lamb at his price point for.
You're telling me you don't feel the
now.
rush flow?
I'm not a huge rush guy.
You don't feel the rush?
It's weird. CeeDee Lamb was practice limited Wednesday, but he did not practice today with back and foot injuries. So I wonder if that's a re-aggravation, but they don't have him listed as questionable. So that's something to monitor, which I'm surprised they don't have him at least questionable on here.
Yeah. Jess, anything last minute notes?
Yes.
Go ahead, Cole.
I entered a contest, $3 entries last week. Winner gets. I think it was $200,000, something like that. Just a life-changing amount of money, you know. I see somebody had scored 250 points, and I'm like, holy crap, that's incredible. 250 points, that's a dream lineup right there.
That is a dream lineup.
I click on the lineup. There are 6 Detroit Lions players in that lineup that all went off. 6 players on the same offense that went off. So at this point, I'm questioning if what we say even matters. And you just pick 6 players from the same lineup. If you can score, if it'll cash out.
If I pick 6 players from the same lineup, they'll blow the stadium up. Someone will drop a bomb on the stadium. That's just not going to happen. I don't have that luck. That whole stadium will collapse.
I mean, can you imagine? That's just somebody in Detroit sitting there in his recliner. He's like, "Yeah, I love the Lions. I love the Lions, baby," and he's just clicking Lions players down the line. Dude, it's unreal. Jameson Williams, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff, and I think Sam Laporta, all in the same lineup. That is absurd. Did Laporta play last week? It was somebody. No, it was the second.
Brock Wright. Brock Wright.
Brock Wright. Who? Brock Wright. So.
Hey, Cole, you better believe I'm gonna do a 10-cent entry this week. Straight Detroit lineups.
Straight.
Dude, do it.
Pick the best matchup and just start the whole offense.
Start the whole offense.
Which is probably the Lions again.
Hey, maybe Kansas City. Maybe Patrick Mahomes.
That's true.
Travis
it might
Kelce, Xavier Worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And throw one of the running backs in there.
Yeah.
That might be the play this week, boys.
Maybe so. Give it a shot.
Although
Let's see if we can. Maybe that's the secret to winning. Yeah, maybe that's the secret to winning is starting.
It's not the secret. It's not the secret to winning. I've checked more than 1 week, and I've seen nobody start 6 players in the same offense. It was just an unfortunate circumstance.
There's a guy with $100,000 right now in Detroit that would disagree with you.
I bet he won't do it this week.
I bet he will.
He's got money to play with.
I bet he'll lose.
We'll find out.
Let's see.
Gabe, you got anything as we close?
Don't start 6 players from the same offense and expect to win.
I love it.
Oh,
well,
one more thing.
That's the wisdom that we got. All right, go ahead, Cole.
We have a new Twitter. The print has a Twitter now. Right now, it's only followed by hot artificial intelligent bots. I'll give you one of our followers' names. Follower's name is Clarissa Bondlander. No shot, that's a real person. Yeah, so right now we're getting followed by all women and then me and Gabe. So if you want to go and follow us on Twitter, the @ is @TrustThePrint. Regular name, Fantasy Blueprint if you search us. So
perfect. Great plug as we wrap up for week 12. Boys, I enjoyed it. Happy hunting this week, and we'll catch you for week 13. See y'all.
All right.